we've been taught by society, oh, you need to like stand still, don't fidget, make eye contact, and do the handshake, and that is how you seem approachable or or something like that. My perfectionism has kicked in so much today. I have refilmed the same video so many times, so we're just gonna go with this. Hello and welcome back to the Neurospicy side of YouTube. I'm Caitlin, and today we're going to be going over autism, what it is, what does it even mean, and what is it like to have autism, because I think there's a lot of stereotypes out there, and it's really important that we get a variety of knowledge and experiences from different people so we can understand how vastly different this different neurotype is. Over here we go over all things neurospicy, all things autism, ADHD and more, and if that's something that you want to learn more about, please subscribe below and let's get right on into it. So what even is autism in the first place? Autism is autistic spectrum disorder. It's a lifelong neurodevelopmental condition that someone is born with, and it affects how they perceive the world, their sensory processing, kind of the information that they take in. Now, it often means that their sensory experience is heightened. So noise and lights and sounds, it is 10 times more, vivid than what it would be to a neurotypical person. It's really important to note that autism is an inherent trait. It's not something to be fixed or cured. It is just a neurotype. It's just another way of being a human. It's really important that we honor that, respect that. I myself am autistic, but autism does not have a singular look. There's a lot of stereotypes out there. Think Sheldon, Big Bang Theory, or that other guy who's in that medical show who's an autistic doctor. That is absolutely a shape of autism. That's great. That's great representation for that specific type of autism. There's all different types of shapes of it. This is how it looks like in me, but to someone else, it looks completely different. I think a great representation of it is, if you've seen Love on the Spectrum, I do not like reality TV shows or dating shows, but that shows so many different types of people and also so many different types of love as well. I feel like a lot of dating shows only really show conventionally attractive white heterosexual people, but Love on the Spectrum, they do a great mix of all different types of brains and appearances, and it's great. And you can really see and get an idea of how wide and beautiful this kaleidoscope of a spectrum is. I love that word, kaleidoscope. So absolutely give that a watch. The spectrum itself, it means that every autistic person has their own set of strengths, weaknesses, challenges. Some people can live on their own with autism, and some people need to live with someone to get that additional layer of support that they need. For me, I've lived on my own. I've lived with friends, I've lived with family. Right now I live with my partner, who also has autism and ADHD, and it works great. We understand one another and it just works. But every single person is different, and it's really important to remember, just in life and throughout this video, that autism does not have a particular look or a particular shape. It's all different, and everyone's sets of challenges, weaknesses, strengths is all different. For me, I would say business, music, being a social butterfly most of the time, it's a strength for me. But then other days I might struggle with my speech. Other days it's really difficult to go to the shops and have people like be in my aura with the lights and the noise. It's too much, and it fluctuates each day. But someone else might have no issue with that, but then not understand music at all, but be brilliant at math and have amazing coordination, of which I do not. That's just an example. Key differences between a neurotypical person and an autistic person is their social communication and interaction would be different. So whereas we've been taught by society, oh, you need to like stand still, don't fidget, make eye contact, and do the handshake, and that is how you seem approachable or something like that. It's never been for me. If I'm listening to someone, I can make eye contact with them, but it feels very intimate. It does. But when I'm talking and explaining something, I cannot make eye contact. There's too much going on in here, and I'm processing and also thinking about what I'm saying and thinking about what they're going to say. I can't make eye contact and be still on top of that. That is a lot. For any neurospicy person, but particularly autistic people. Autistic people are also more likely to be a wee bit more blunt or miss social cues. And that's just because that's their way of talking. It doesn't mean that every autistic person has a monotone voice or, misses all social cues. It's a spectrum, but it's taken me a very long time to understand social cues and then sort of do the right thing at the right time. But I still get it wrong. I've lived for 25 years, been fortunate enough to live in so many different countries, and I still get it wrong. Because there's no manual or rule book or guidebook on what to do and when to do, because these social rules have so many different subsets of rules and categories where it's like, this is the right thing to do, except when it's a minefield and it's difficult. And I have definitely masked a lot of my life, and it's taken a lot to sort of delayer that mask, if you will, because being autistic and autistic communication isn't often represented well or respected or even welcomed, which is kind of sad because it's just another way of communicating. But I'm really hoping with this platform and the amazing, strides we're making in society to honor and respect all different neurotypes, that this will be more of a common thing, in the world, and that neurotypical won't be the default, but just one of the many different types of brains that you can have. Another difference for autistic people is they have a preference for consistency and routine. Now, I took this too literally and I thought, oh, I can't be autistic because I don't do the same thing every single day at a certain time. If you've got a mix of ADHD and autism, then that could look a little bit different. My everyday looks different because some days I'm working as an ice cream lady. I'll put a video up here about that. And other days I'm doing things around the house or I'm just living life. It looks different, but I will always use the same morning mug for a hot drink and night mug for a hot drink. And then whenever I have my little bowl of fruit and yogurt, it has to be in my blue bowl. It needs the same shape. And if I'm traveling somewhere, I have a specific green flannel that I will wear because that's my traveling flannel. Now, it did take me too long to realize that I have autism. But since finding out a couple of years ago, then it has actually allowed me to understand my brain better, and accommodate for myself and advocate for myself and my needs way more, because now I'm like, oh, no, you're no weird. I mean, I am weird and autistic, but that is a completely separate thing. But I'm not bad for being autistic or having autism. It's just another shape. It also affects your sensory processing, which I've slightly talked about before. So for me, I need to wear the same jewelry, like the things need to touch me at the right weight and place. And if they don't, then I'm going to be mildly annoyed. And then that's going to build up and build up all day on top of other things. People talking to you, you've got a new thing that you need to do. Struggling to come up with examples here, but it starts with the clothes that you wear on your body, and then you need to go out into the world, and there might be, ambulance sirens, or there might be just people walking in crowds and bright lights and noise, and that can get way too much. And on top of a heat wave as well, which the UK is currently having, that just gets heightened tenfold, and can lead to either a shutdown, which is where you go intrinsically inside yourself and you might seem unresponsive, or a meltdown where it's more expressive and you can see that the person's really, really upset. I've personally experienced both. They're both a really, really vulnerable state to be in. And when those things happen and you're not in your safe space, you just feel so vulnerable, So I'm really hoping that the people who watch this video, and just people in general, if they see this out in public, that they are understanding and give that person space and accommodate for them whenever they need. It's also very likely that if you have autism, that you have co-occurring conditions like ADHD, anxiety, depression, epilepsy, dyspraxia, dyslexia. Oftentimes we see anxiety and depression is kind of how would you say, a result of having autism or ADHD in this very neurotypical type world, which is sad because no one should feel that way or that they don't belong. That's another common feeling with autism, is that feeling of not belonging or not fitting in. And it can feel really lonely and really isolating. When you don't know how to make friends or socialize or understand social cues, it's difficult to make friendships and relationships and bonds. And you can kind of just feel as though, all right, I'm just going to go hide at home then because I don't know how to socialize. And that turns into then isolation, loneliness, anxiety, and depression. But that's why community is so important. Having community and people who understand you and accept you for you and how you are just naturally, it makes all the difference. I used to live on my own when I was on ADHD medication, actually. I will do a whole video about this, but that was when I experienced my autism at its most heightened. My medication treated the ADHD, which was great. I was able to focus, have a linear thought, think of a thing, do the thing, complete the thing, then move on to the next thing, and not be like trying to do 10 things at once. It was amazing at first. Tried all different doses. I was on it for like a year. But whilst my ADHD was being treated by the medication for however many hours the medication was working that day, my autism would then come and like shine forth, which I produced probably the best work I'd ever produced. My spatial awareness got better. Like I was very efficient, very focused, but I started hanging out with my friends less. I wasn't able to communicate with my co-workers as well as what I was off the medication. It was like my inner world got richer, but then my outer world, I couldn't communicate with it. I couldn't interact with it as well as what I could off my medication. So that's how I always describe it. For me personally, I feel as though my ADHD is in the driver's seat and my autism's in the passenger seat, being like, "Oh, what are we doing?" But when I was on ADHD medication, it's very much the opposite way around. Autism was driving, and ADHD was like, oh, it was like my ADHD was kidnapped, if you can imagine that. But yeah, it was pretty lonely. I'm really, really lucky to have amazing people and my love and family who have supported me throughout all of that. Right now, I'm just kind of treating my ADHD and autism through lifestyle things and just trying to do the healthy things. But I might go back onto medication at some point. I don't know, but that's the thing. It's up to every individual person, what co-occurring condition they have, or if it's just autism, what works best for them, because everyone is different. Legally, autism is a disability, legally and medically in the UK, at least, according to the UK Equality Act of 2010. But whether you choose to identify as disabled because of your autism or not, that is totally your decision. Me personally, like, I wear the sunflower lanyard, which is to show that you have a hidden disability. That helps me in my job as the ice cream lady, because that's customer facing, and it's just a little thing that I can wear to say, hey, give me some extra time, extra patience. I'm processing a lot of sensory things already, and I want to get your order right. So, hey, just give me a minute. But me as a person, I wouldn't identify fully with autism being a disability. For me, I see it as a different neurotype, but I understand that neurotypical in our world is kind of the default. So anything else would be considered a disability as such. But it's up to each individual person what they choose to see it as and identify with. That's just my opinion of my personal autism in my experience of the world, And when people hear about it and they're trying to be inclusive and enthusiastic about learning, and they just come across and say, oh, you're autistic, what's your superpower? As if you're like some dancing monkey or something. We're not, we're just humans. We're just humans. Everyone has got strengths and weaknesses no matter what neurotype you have. But to just assume that an autistic person has this magical special superpower, like we can just solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded or like do math. I do not have that type of autism. It is a shape, and big up to the ones who are that shape. I have the socially awkward music and business autism and rocks. I love rocks. I have a major crystal collection. I have that type of autism. So it's important to bear in mind that every autistic person is different, and our special interests are definitely going to range from, it could be stereotypical like trains and dinosaurs in space, or it could be really, really specific like I don't know, sports, cars. It could be anything. And that's so exciting. I think that's autism in a nutshell. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And over the next couple videos, I'm hoping to go over a wee bit more about ADHD medication, stimulants, and also spiky profiles. Did it not feel right just because my top wasn't tucked in? Is that? And I don't know if my microphone's on. Window was open and I felt perceived. That's what was going on there. Does that? Oh, fuck. Jesus Christ. Today we're going to be talking about autism. Okay, my hair is massive. Thank you so much for joining today's video. I hope you learned a wee bit more about autism and my experience with it. I'm really enjoying making these videos, guys. Like, my ADHD kicks in and I procrastinate on filming and it takes a long time to edit, but I'm really enjoying just like putting a video out weekly, bit by bit, getting there. If you want to be more of my face, I'm also on TikTok. It's Neurospicy Decoded. And I am in the designing sort of beginning phase of having my own line of like sensory clothing, sensory friendly clothing for neurodivergent people. So if that's something you're interested in, it's going to be called Neurospicy Wear. I do have the website live, but I am making tweaks at the moment. But it's neurospicywear.co.uk if you want to sign up for the mailing list. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to do one item of sensory friendly clothing at a time. So it's like a big piece. It's a big project, but we'll get there. I'm really happy that you're here joining me on this journey, and have a wonderful day.